बीच में आप मुझे रोकेंगे तो फिर प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा। तो मैं 10-15 मिनट के लिए कंटिन्यूसली आई विल गिव यू माय लेक्चर. Today's lecture is lecture 11. Okay, after 11, 12. This is 12 on school is learning organization, and it's part 2. In part 1, we have tried to develop its meaning. What is the meaning of learning organization? How we develop our school as a learning organization. And today we will further explore the concepts related to learning organization, and that will help us to make better meaning of learning organization, characteristics of learning organization. Yesterday we have thoroughly discussed the notions of the learning organization, and the people who came up with the idea of the learning organization was a particular shift from a approach that focuses teaching as transaction, learning as transaction, to learning as process. So that was the basic shift behind developing the concept of the learning organization. So based on that, we have built our meaning, our understanding of the learning organization. Learning organization is a place where people, everyone, get engages with the process of continuously expanding their capacity, their learning, relearning, and learn from each other, learn from new knowledge that is there in the that is coming from their experiences in that organization. So in this way, we have focused on 3 basic things. Learning organizations are the most effective organizations which demonstrate transformative leadership practices. Transformative leadership practice at classroom level, transformative leadership at school level, at all levels. When this is a practice in a school, so that school is basically demonstrating transformative leadership practice, and that is very much linked with the learning organization. Secondly, we discussed yesterday, that was work to instigate a learning-based organizational environment. So if your school instigates learning-based organizational school environment, so the thing is, when you create an environment that is learning-based, and you value this sort of environment, you create a conducive learning environment, and then finally you continuously promote learning behavior of everyone associated with the school at all levels, from gatekeeper to principal, and from parents to community and policy makers. When everyone at all levels continuously promote a learning behavior, this means that your school is a learning organization. And finally, we discussed that if your teachers are engaged with developing their capacity, developing their professional learning by sharing, by learning from each other, and they develop a professional learning community, this means that your school is a learning organization. And then we will move to origins of the learning organization. What is the origin of the learning organization? When you look at these people, Hargreaves and Schoen, 1978, and their work, that is basically was focusing on the managers, administrators, leaders, policymakers, and planners at different levels of the organization, and they were working on those people, and how those people were working in their organizations, what were their approaches to learning, how they created the environment in that organization, and what kind of the environment they have created. Does that environment make sense for the people in that organization? to learn something meaningful or not. So in this way, when you look at these people, so they have captured the attention of these people towards these important characteristics of the organization. From this, you can look at how this notion of the learning organization emerged historically in the literature. However, the concept of the learning organization originated from the world of business and was gradually taken into every corner of the life by both the public and private sectors. When you see if this concept, learning organization, was basically originated from the world of business, and from the world of business to every corner of life, including school and schooling. So that's why we are interested to learn about this learning organization, school as learning organization, how we make our schools as places of continuously expanding the capacity of the people, capacity of the teachers, capacity of the staff, and the capacity of students particularly, how they are engaged with continuously promoting their learning, how to develop their behavior, learning behavior. So that is very important, because when everyone, including students and teachers and staff, they become, part and parcel of this whole process of, a team of learners who are there to learn from each other, who are committed to learn, who are committed to create a learning environment where everyone encourages to learn from each other's experiences and share their experience with each other, so that they can continuously expand their capacity, their knowledge, they enhance their knowledge. So in this way, you can make your school as a learning organization. So this is how you can make sense of schools as a learning organization. The critical questions here are, how does it work as a process of lifelong learning? You have created an environment, and that is very conducive for learning, and how that environment, in that environment, you inculcate the spirit of lifelong learning. For example, you are there in school for completing your particular grade level. But after that grade level, what will you do? If that behavior, learning behavior you have developed leads you towards learning throughout your life. So that is the most important thing. And that plays a significant role in you, wherever you go, wherever you work, in that organization, you become a key player to convert that organization into a learning organization. So that's why, so this is very important. How can we, develop this habit of learning, this learning behavior in every individual in your school? So what are its implications regarding the reforms in organizations and the changes in behavior of every individual in an organization? So what kind of the changes, what kind of the reforms are required, so they help the people to develop this sort of behavior in every individual to become a lifelong learner? And what are the key factors that affect the entire process and culture of an organization to improve the existing conditions? If there are some conditions which needs to change, which needs improvement, and how will you improve those conditions of the organization in order to bring reforms in the organization? And those reforms will help individuals to learn continuously, to expand their knowledge, to expand their skills, to expand their capacity in that organization. So in this way, you can make better sense of these questions to answer, and in light of learning organizations to develop. So how can we develop a school as a learning organization? What kind of the processes are required? How the behavior of every person in the school is to change, and the change towards becoming them a continuously learning behavior. They're converting their behavior into a continuously learning behavior. So that is important. And what are the conditions in the organization which need to change in order to facilitate everyone to learn from each other's experience? These are the questions we need to answer, we need to think about. So when we look at this learning organization, what kind of the things that learning organization uses? Because when you think about your school as a learning organization, so that school must systematic problem solving. There should be a culture in your school that focuses, that gives importance to systematic problem solving. For example, some teachers have some problems in their teaching. So how that system, how that school helps those teachers to get engaged in systematic problem solving, so that they should not have those problems next time. And in this way, they should get engaged in a experiential learning process. So through systematic problem solving, everyone must realize that their organization has a systematic problem solving approach, and no one is in trouble because of that systematic problem solving processes and approaches that the school is using. Experimentation. The next important thing that the learning organization focuses is experimentation. So that is something you can link with experiential learning. So when you engage with doing something, and as a result of your actions, your actual involvement in performing an activity, and with the help of that activity, whatever you experiment, whatever you learn from that experiment, so that is the most important thing. That is practically you engage with things and you learn something. Learning from experience, and how you give value to your experience, experiential learning. The learning comes from your experience, your personal experience. How your personal experience help you to make meaning of your learning. How your learning, your theoretical learning is enhanced through your practical work. So that's how you can give meaning to that. Learning from others, your colleagues, your peers, and your seniors and juniors, everyone with you in the school. How you learn from those people. Knowledge transfer, how that knowledge you acquired from others, from experience, from your experimentation, and the approaches that you use in a systematic problem solving approaches. So with the help of all these kind of engagements, how you gain the knowledge, the new knowledge, and how you that knowledge you share with other people. So that is most important things that the learning organization gives an importance to this learning, and engagement with the learning. And the next important thing is when you look at learning organization, you can probably look at this slide. So the core characteristics. What are the core characteristics of the learning organization? So for example, when you focus on the core characteristics of the learning organization, so according to Peter Sanjay, there are 5 important things which creates a sense for coming with the characteristics of an organization. If your school focuses on systems thinking, personal mastery, mental models, shared vision, team building, these 5 important characteristics, as Peter Sanjay says, these 5 important characteristics are the core characteristics of a learning organization. Any organization which focuses on these 5 important dimensions, so that organization becomes a learning organization. So learning organization, you need to look at this circle. So mental models, how mental models help to develop a shared vision, how a shared vision encourage people in the organization, in the school, to build different teams, and how learning teams help everyone to develop systems thinking. And in this way, how system thinking enables individual to develop personal mastery. So this cycle goes on and on and on. So in this way, when you engage with this sort of activities in an organization, so that organization becomes a learning organization. And according to Peter Sanjay, these 5 important characteristics are the core elements, core characteristics of the system learning organization. So here we will explore what are these 5 core characteristics one by one. System thinking. Basically, system thinking allows people to study business as bounded objects. But here, when we look at the school, so what are the things in the school which allow people, teachers and staff to bound with each other, right? So how can they help each other in order to achieve the vision of the school? Learning organization basically processes information systems to assess the performance of the organization and its component as a whole. When you look at the whole performance of the school, it needs the performance of every individual and every sections and every group of people. So it's not the performance of one person, it's the performance of all people, all components as a whole. When you focus on the whole performance of the school and in the light of every individual's performance, when you focus on every individual, then the performance of the whole school will be there. Otherwise, if you do not focus on some sections or some groups or some teachers, and if you focus only one or two, it makes no sense. System thinking states that all the characteristics must be present together in an organization for it to be learning organization. System thinking means you are thinking holistically, looking at the system, looking at the whole school. What is the school shared vision? How you achieve that shared vision? So how you engage with everyone, every component, every people in the school, that makes better sense. Similarly, when you look at the personal mastery, personal mastery is an individual commitment to learning. If you develop this behavior, learning behavior, lifelong learning behavior in every teacher, in every person in the school, so those individuals' commitment level will be high towards their learning. And as a result, they will develop a personal mastery in that particular skill, in that particular knowledge domain. So that is very important, and that must be in line with the vision of the school and the mission of the school, what kind of the activities which are going on in the school, and how those individuals improve their capacity, improve their learning, and they become committed to expand their capacity. So in this way, they develop their personal mastery. And these people with this sort of behavior, a learning behavior, as a continuous lifelong learner, can only develop personal mastery. Similarly, when we talk about mental models include assumptions and generalizations um, retained by individuals and organizations, which go undetected as mental models, limit people's observation. Learning organizations need to identify and challenge these models. For a learning environment, it is important to reduce with an open culture and promote inquiry and trust. Introduce mechanisms for uncovering and assessing organizational theories of action and discard any unwanted value. That is basically your approach, your thinking, your mental model, how you look at this organization as a valuable thing, rather than your own assumptions and your own generalizations. So you focus on the organizational mechanisms. You try to develop a culture that promotes integrity, trust, and um, cooperation, to develop an environment that is conducive and that focuses on organizational vision and mission. So in this way, when you put those things in your mind and you avoid confrontations, you avoid generalizations, and you avoid unnecessary assumptions, which has to do nothing with the this organizational development. So, and for that you need a leadership. And what kind of the leadership you need? And that leadership is very important for this organization to develop team learning and developing a shared vision. Team learning and shared vision, we need a leadership. And that leadership is very important, because this leadership helps individuals in the organization at all levels to transform those individuals, a transformative leadership skill. Otherwise, if you have a dictating leadership, if you have a very narrowly view of the leadership, that is as a top-down bureaucratic approach, so that does not develop a shared vision, that cannot develop a team learning environment in the school. So when you have a leadership that is transformative, that can develop a shared vision. In one of the classes, we have discussed what is the meaning of shared vision and what is the meaning of a single vision. How can we develop a shared vision in school? So, and what is the importance of a shared vision for a school? So we have already discussed that. So to develop a shared vision, this leadership is very important. And this leadership is also very important in order to create teams of learning, team learning, how people in different teams learn from each other, and they share the concept of learning with other teams. So team learning comes with the leadership role to create an environment of co-working and co-leading. As Peter Singer says, the view of stewardship, where control and consistency should be swept with the partnership and choice. If you have partnership in learning, if you have choice in learning in teams, so that boosts stewardship. So the leader as a steward tells purpose stories. What are the the purpose of this organization, how can we develop our school as a learning place where we can come up with our own purpose of the purpose of learning. So those leaders as stewards tell purposeful stories that is linked with the concept of learning. So that's for sort of situation to create. We need a leadership, and that leadership is the principal's leadership. That leadership is a teacher's leadership. So if these people, teachers and principal in school, work in that way, so they can develop your school as a learning organization. So here today we have explored 5 important dimensions, 5 important core characteristics of the learning organization, which are very much linked with each other. And if you as a leader in the classroom, as a teacher as a leader in the classroom, have your shared vision. If you engage your learners and their needs, and you focus on their needs, and you create a learning environment, you create the trust in you, the trust with your students, and you engage all learners in an active learning process. So that is one of your characteristics as a transformative leader. So you transform them, you make those students ready to continuously expand their learning, continuously enhance their learning capacity. So that is that should be your shared vision, you and your students shared vision, and including the input from principal, from other stakeholders, parents and community members. So at the same time, if the principal has a shared vision, and that shared vision is translated at the classroom level and at all levels, so in this way you can develop teams learning. In classroom, you develop different teams of learners. In the school, you develop different team learning approaches with the help of the teachers and other people. So in this way, this model, when you look at this model, this makes better sense to create your school as a learning place. School as a learning place enables us to focus on how can we create the environment in school where everyone, students, teachers, other staff members, come as important elements of the school, which contribute collectively to achieve the vision of the school. So everyone learns from each other's experience. Everyone learns from seniors and juniors and from peers, and they give importance to learning. So the school becomes a really place of learning where everyone is committed to enhance, committed to expand their level of learning. So in this way, you create school as a learning organization. And that is what we can say school as a learning place, a place of learning. So that